Welcome to Next Generation's First Generation, where Patrick Delmore and Sascha Schaudies take a look back into their favorite childhood show, Star Trek The Next Generation. This is where we attempt to reconcile how we felt as children watching the show and looking back as old farts now in our late 30s, almost 40s. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Next Generation's First Generation. My name is Sascha Schaudies, and with us we also have the wonderful Patrick Delmore.
Yep.
Woohoo! And today we are going to review a very interesting episode, Brothers. I believe this is... Boy, is this our third episode of Season 4? Holy cow, yes it is.
We're way ahead of the game here.
This is a really, really fun episode. I had a lot of fun watching it as a kid, and we get to see Mr. Brent basically play more than just himself. He gets to play personified versions of himself, which can be funny in its own way. At the time of recording this is May 15th, so it's just starting to heat up, but by the time you listen to this should be... Holy cow, October 8th, you guys are getting ready for Halloween.
Yeah, colder and darker.
Let's hope that maybe COVID will provide us a good socially distant Halloween trick-or-treating experience. If not, enjoy eating your bag of Skittles while listening to this podcast. Either way. So, what we're going to do, we're watching on our Netflix version today. So we're going to give you the countdown and sync up your play button. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There's
the Enterprise is zipping along.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Oh, medical emergency.
Oh, we don't have subtitles for this? There we go. So, yeah, this is our B plot, why it matters that things aren't going right. I don't like how Troy is handling this. So this kid played a prank on his brother. Basically, fill the dummy with
fake blood or something.
Yeah, with fake blood, and let a train run over it. And no, that's not what he did, but. Good enough.
Oh, it's a laser duel. So to make it look like, this reminds me of that Rick and Morty episode with the immortality field, and these two kids are running around shooting each other with real lasers.
Oh, yeah.
And then the field goes down, and the brother accidentally shoots the sister.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of what happened here. So even in the 24th century, I think this is, you still have kids playing with guns, faking their death. Nothing has changed.
But why do they have fruit that's viral? Why do they have viral fruit where kids can get it? I mean, it's like the minute that this meeting is over with Riker and this kid, Picard's like, "Okay, Commander, viral fruit where kids can get at it. What's the deal?"
Well, I can imagine it's kind of like when you're on a cruise ship. And you get off, the cruise director is going to say, well, here's where you can go. Don't go over here. You might get in trouble.
Data was walking his mean walk a minute ago. Can you imagine how scary Riker and Data must be to the kids on the Enterprise?
Pretty intimidating, I'm sure.
And Troy was pretty like a mean teacher-y, walking him in there with her hand on his shoulder.
I never understood the whole angry adult move. So when I was a kid, I ran into a lot of adults who pretended to be angry and weren't.
Yep.
And now that I'm an adult, I run into adults who are angry all the time and completely inappropriate with the people in their care. Oof. It's really weird. So what's happening now is Data's looks like he's receiving instructions. He's kind of doing the head twitching thing. Redirected the turbo lift to the bridge, and now this poor kid is just sitting in the turbo lift thinking, wow, Data must really hate me.
A total redheaded stinker, too, that kid. he He looks like he should have a slingshot in his back pocket and a toad in his front pocket.
Dennis the Menace.
Pretty much, yep.
Okay, so this episode, original air date October 8th, 1990. Holy cow, we're in the 90s, but we established that a few episodes ago. This episode was directed and written by, just directed by Rob Bowman and written by Rick Bierman. Hey, so we got a producer here writing this show.
Yep.
And featured music, our good old Ron Jones, and Marvin Rush did the cinematography. And we have a number of guest stars that you may or may have never heard of. So Jake and Willie, the brothers here, Corey Dancing, and Adam Ryan. I don't know if I've ever heard of Corey before. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't recognize him from anything.
Yep. So, he owns a business called Scene 4 in California and co-created the original Lefties in Los Angeles.
Hey, good! What a great shout out!
Reminds me of Ned Flanders' Leftorium.
Exactly. And then we got our Brent Spiner in a triple role.
Yeah, that's right. I remember
Data, Lore, and Dr. Sung.
I remember him saying in an interview somewhere that he just was so bored to tears playing Data all the time that whenever he got to, change character, he would really enjoyed it. But there's
people like Data, though. Can you imagine if he came to your school to sell laptops?
Oh, man.
How excited you would have been? I
would totally buy it. Oh, Data's got the "I'm going to kill everybody on the bridge" look.
Exactly.
Wow. Jordy's angry. We're going to warp 9.1. So everybody's freaking out and they don't know why, but they don't suspect that it's Data. Not yet. Yeah. Data does not respond.
This happens way too much. He'd be such a liability to ever have on a starship.
Where Data just takes over the ship and does what he wants. Kind of reminds me of the 7 of 9 when she goes full out Borg. It's just, she took over the ship again.
Yep. I mean, he could literally kill everybody in that room in seconds.
Yeah. So everybody's leaving. They're getting up. They're going to reassemble in engineering. If I was Picard, I'd just tell Data, stay on the bridge, see what you can do.
Could you imagine if Bruce Maddox had wanted to take him after this happened? I would have been able to make the case, like, once I take him apart and put him back together again, we'll know that he won't ever be able to do this. Because I'll get that out of him.
It's a behavioral firewall.
Yeah.
Well,
I love those little seats. Look at his little seats.
They're cute. Hey, we know this actor. He is a brief security officer on Deep Space Nine, first season.
Nice. So he's got the season 1 Trek uniform on with the zip in the front.
Oh, yeah.
I love that engineering hub. That, you can kind of steer the ship from there.
Yeah, the we can do anything off of an iPad desk.
Yep.
Oh, their Windex did a really good job here. The glare is wonderful.
Well, they used to say that stuff there was what was it? Techno wallpaper, they called it. And anytime it does something, like where something moves on it, it's a trick shot.
So if you were to create an artificial intelligence who is recognized as a sentient being, do you think you would have the right to go in and change the programming of that being so he's incapable of hurting others or taking extreme action, kind of like what Data's doing?
It's the 3 laws of robotics.
Exactly, but the three laws, I don't think built in sentience. It built in autonomy, but not self-thought.
I think eventually it would evolve to self-thought.
Then all of a sudden the 3 laws become more of like a 3 suggestions. You probably shouldn't do this, but Who am I to judge? You do you.
There's a good discussion. I think it's I can't think of the name of the guy that does it, but he does this really good video about AI, the movie,
Mm.
and
Oh yes.
how intelligent the teddy bear actually is.
Hmm.
That
Hey,
it like has learned behaviors and all this other stuff, and
you imagine if the Teddy Ruxpin had Furby AI chip in it?
it'd be scary.
Oh, I know, totally.
They did
So we're
a Venture Brothers about that kind of
no way.
called "What's It All About, Ted."
So we're about to see a really famous audio cut here where Data enters in a very long string of numbers to encrypt the computer, and I think it's used in a Pogo music video.
Probably.
So these guys are lost in the Jeffries tube. They're like, okay, let's look at the map. It's a big ship though. Ugh. Good thing no one's wearing those short dresses going up those ladders.
It's probably why they got rid of us. Like, I can't work in the Jeffries tube today. I'm wearing the skirt.
Yeah, well, there might be a Starfleet issue strap that comes along with it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Or maybe it's a skirt and we don't know it. So like if they were to lift up the skirt, it
I
would
bet
just
it
be a pair of
probably
shorts.
is a skirt. I mean, not that beefy guy. He's going commando, but for dudes like you and me, it's a skirt.
Yeah, I could do a skirt. So Data still has taken control of the ship, and they really need to get to a starbase, and they're just kind of having conversations back and forth.
Yeah,
with
because
the
here's
doctor.
the brother in the sick bay being it's such a MacGuffin. I mean, it's like, did anybody think this episode would end with, and that little boy died, and his brother will never be the same?
And now you know the rest of the story.
And it's like, then Troy would have to work with them all on like, okay, so we know that when we thought your brother was going to live, that we shamed you about this. Actually, we shouldn't have done that because he died, and it's not in any way your fault.
Well, that goes into the whole angry adult. I'm going to pretend like I'm angry because I'm in a position of authority.
Mm.
I just never got that. It's like, what? When adults talk to adults and someone gets angry, I'm not concerned that they're angry. I'm concerned that they broke professionalism, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm thinking more because those kids' parents aren't there; they have to be the parents. And
Yeah. They kind of explained it earlier, right? That they were going to watch the kids while the parents were away.
yeah, which there's several kids that people are probably doing that with, and it's Troy at first, and I mean Keiko's a botanist when she shows up on this, not a teacher. I'm
Yeah.
sure it probably only because they have to divert the mission did Riker talk to that kid. Like if the mission hadn't had to been diverted to take care of the brother, he probably wouldn't have talked to him. Probably would have been Troy and his teacher.
Oh yeah, just a slap on the hand rather than a
Yeah,
full addressing.
yeah.
There's some really good computer animation there
Oh, for
for
sure.
the 90s. That would look great. I mean, granted it was only 4 colors and all straight lines,
Mm.
but it's not bad. Is that O'Brien talking? Yeah,
Yeah,
that is.
Capney's up to something. Yes, Mr. O'Brien, we have established that Data is up to something.
Da, 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 da. Aren't you up to something at every moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, my feet are up to something. They're on the desk. They're up
Ooh.
the desk. Yeah, it's great. I can almost tickle Wesley's head with my big toe. I'm that
Uh,
close to the monitor.
Will Wheaton would probably be into that.
Who knows? He's a pretty funny guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is great. I always wondered how long it took the actor to come up with this number chain.
Mhm.
So 7321476 Charlie Victor 64373117888732476 blah blah blah. You think they just kind of came up with it and then turned around and told Patrick
It's
Stewart to
it's
say it?
funny that it's the actual words, not the letters, because he's just using phonetic alphabet letters. But on the screen, it was the words. The word Victor, the word Tango. I would think it would just be a V and a T.
V or a T, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen some pretty intelligent subtitles though. I watch a lot of anime, and sometimes they do a really good job of translating the second or third language you'll hear in the anime. Like every now and then, when it suits the character, they'll speak in French or some other language.
So,
Mhm.
friends of the show, Hope Mullinex and Chris Honeywell have a new podcast called "Make Chris Watch a Cartoon," or Hope makes Chris watch cartoons,
No
and
way.
they're watching Gravity Falls right now. And
Okay.
the subtitles for Gravity Falls are sometimes incorrect, or else they're missing entirely. And this is on Disney Plus. For example, in that episode where the second episode where the manly dad is punching that fish,
Mhm.
the subtitles say "dead, dead, dead" instead of "dad, dad, dad."
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Well, at this point, I bet you they can have AI do the subtitles rather than someone typing them in.
That not true actually. There
Well,
is an intern there's closed captioning, which is different than subtitles.
mm,
With closed captioning, just responds to what it is an AI that just responds to what it's hearing. So if you're watching, like, say, a show that has a heavy British accent or something in it, yeah, there's a lot of total non sequiturs. But typically for something like this, there's an intern sitting there typing it all into a system.
wow, look at this room of curiosities of Dr. Sung. So Data is beamed down to the planet, locked everybody out of the ship, and now he is in this lab, and the camera's just panning around, and it looks like they just broke into into Indiana Jones's father's
Yeah,
room and stole all his decorations.
very Merlin meets Arthur here, Sword in the Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I knew you were coming, I would have baked a cake. I was going to say about those the security people running into the force fields. Now they
Mm-hmm.
know exactly where those force fields are going to be because they use them all the time. But I guess they're trained to just run through those because
You
they
know,
keep
it makes sense
slamming.
to give. It would make sense to give them a little armband so they could pass through the
Yeah,
force
but I
fields.
mean, good for the actors that really make it look like they've run into something when they haven't. I mean, that's amazing physical acting.
So actually, what they do is a lot of Windex and plexiglass and about 10 takes.
Yeah.
No.
So now Data has realized that he's done something. He doesn't understand why he's there. I love this design behind him for the kind of frame thing. That's what his insides look like.
Oh yeah, a little schematic. Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
can see it. Reminds me of a Dark Knight fencing outfit.
hmm So lots of split shots here. A lot of over the shoulder stuff.
Yeah. Well, who really pioneered that? It was the Parent Trap, I believe.
Parent Trap and the Donna Reed show.
Oh, did they do that too? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I made a joke about identical robots when we recorded the first episode with Lore Data Lore.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little song about that. That's the theme to the Donna Reed show because it was her and her cousin, or she plays herself and her cousin, and they're identical.
I had no idea, and that kills me because I used to watch that show when I was a kid on Nick at Night.
Donna Reed
Oh,
show?
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. With My Three Sons and Car 54.
Hmm.
Car 54, where are you?
My Three Sons is like the most boring show.
Oh, I know.
I love what's his face, the guy from that, the Nutty Professor. Why can't I think of his name? But
This
yeah,
this book he just pulled down looks like the book you'd find at Shucks when you're looking up which wiper blade
yeah,
your car
or
needs.
yeah. What's Data's Kelly Blue Book value? Look at those pants. Look at those shoes.
He's got the good old man
What a
shuffle,
wizard he is.
right? So I don't know if he's kind of going into the circumstances of him evacuating and that he had to run from giant snowflake. So it's assumed that he had a shuttle ready to go or a escape pod, but loaded with all this stuff. I mean, it
Right,
seems kind of odd,
then we later meet, Data's fake mom, who says that like she was there, and
right?
a lot of inconsistencies.
No.
So technobabble, and somebody sits down and takes note of all of this. And it's like, this is how the Enterprise works. They said it in that episode, Brothers.
Well, you can do a career off of it if you happen to remember what is said and hold people to continuity. I think that's why folks were really upset with the Picard series, is that you don't have that formula of plot, technobabble barrier, overcome the barrier, can finish the plot. It's more of character and story development.
Well, and then also in my head canon, that Picard series takes place in a slightly different timeline than the one we're watching now.
Oh yeah. Well,
Everything,
Star Trek loves messing with the timeline, so I've kind of given up on the whole there's no alternate universes thing with Star Trek.
So everything we're seeing now happened somewhat like this. But if they ever were to do a flashback to it, it would quite look like what we're seeing. And the reason for that is Star Trek First Contact dramatically changed the timeline.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
Enterprise
and Discovery are all from that timeline. So with this new show that's coming out, we just heard about the new show today, Strange New Worlds.
Hey, tell us a little bit about that.
We're really going to see what the new timeline looks like, because this is going to be Spock, this is going to be Pike, this is going to be on the Enterprise that we saw in what's it called, Discovery, that is going to become Kirk's Enterprise, and it's not going to look quite the same.
Oh, not at all.
Now again, mostly everything that happened, but just slightly differently.
Well, at least we got past the carpet on the walls phase. And
Yeah.
the leather seats. I look at the leather seat of the captain's chair and I kind of think, maybe that's something you'd see in like a Royals or a Porsche or a sports car of some sort. Alfa Romeo.
Alfa Romeo, yeah.
Uh-oh. They've detected a small vessel.
Yeah. So here for no reason, here is lore, just to say he's still around. I love that he was with the Packlids. Data can pat his head and rub his tummy at the same time. Very cute.
Can he chew gum?
This had to, I mean, for the first time this aired, people had to be really, really excited.
Mm-hmm.
Old Tom Handy.
If Dr. Sung invented Data, you think he would have gotten all this stuff out in the beta phase. It's like, or I built this sentient robot so I could have him perform tricks for me.
Yeah. Um, so the main thing to come out of I love that he's got a dinosaur skull in there.
Or a little toy dinosaur.
Yep.
Look, he's just got a model of toy dinosaurs right there.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Bingo. Dino DNA. Curse your sudden and inevitable betrayal. But the main thing to get out of this episode is something that Troy probably would have worked on Data with anyway, is that Data totally believed Lore when Lore said that Data was a less perfect version of him being Lore.
Mm-hmm.
It would have come up after that, Troy would have been like, let's talk about what happened with you and your brother. And Data would have been like, well, he said that I was less perfect than him. And Troy would have laughed and been like, that's something siblings say.
Rather than...
It's not an actual judgment of value.
Right. Well, the way they ended they ended it with a reality that is not true for Data. It kind of rubs salt in the wound that, yeah, he has a pretty crappy relationship with his brother. Are they able to forgive each other? I don't know.
He doesn't worry about forgiveness. I was thinking a lot about Data and Lore over the last 2 days, which is Data just has, Lore kind of saved a spot like, not safe. I have to protect other people from this guy. But also, he's not... Lore is just something that exists. I don't think that he keeps track of gee, I haven't seen so-and-so for a while. I mean, he might... like, if you ran into Data, it's like, oh, hello, Commander Data. And Data might say, because he understands that that's how humans have conversations, oh, I haven't seen you since X time. But only because that's like a naturalistic thing to say. I don't know.
I remember an episode where, who was it? Troy and Riker were talking about Data because they assumed that he had died. And they said that Data expressed a longing or missing people, like it was built into his program that he was so accustomed to seeing the same people every day that he built subroutines for them. And then when he was no longer around those people, those subroutines weren't being used and interpreted as missing them. So, but
that's
can
kind of sweet.
It's a techno-babbly thing.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing about Data is that it doesn't really matter if he's a robot or not. It's the quality of his emotions that they'll never change no matter what he aspires to be. The only thing he can do is change his perspective. He can't change his emotion. And you got to be careful because you could easily go down the slippery slope of technobabble, where even in this episode they say, hey, by the way, I have this magic emotion chip I'm going to give you. And I think that would break the character. It's kind of like almost, you remember when Data was afraid that Q was going to make him human? And he's like, no, please don't. Or I think he said something along the lines of, you've achieved this in failure where
you've achieved in failure what I have strived to do.
Exactly.
Now, I think if there was a magic switch flipped and Data did turn into a human, he would just collapse like a lump of, as Gene Wilder would say, he would just collapse like a lump of broccoli.
Yeah. Wow, hey, there's our Packlet Lore.
Yeah.
And they even dress him up in the Packlet outfit.
I'm sure it was just because that's what was in wardrobe for him to put on.
Oh, Dr. Sung has no idea what he's doing, giving free dental work to Lore. That mouth is going to bite you, son.
I'd like to go back to the era of the street corner dentist. Because they'd cut your hair, too.
What?
Yep. Yeah, barbers were the teeth pullers.
Yeah. Looks like Dr. Sung just kind of dialed in his teeth. Like, oh, let's turn this one to a number 9 and this one out to a 16. And oh, we've opened up the bike lock.
Yeah, I mean, teeth would make the most sense for if you wanted to have like a robot that you couldn't tamper with that would, bite an enemy that tried to fiddle with it.
Yeah, I haven't even thought of that, but that's a great place to put a sensitive information. Yeah, why didn't they put the off switch like in a molar or something rather than in the back?
Because he does need to be disabled by other people.
Okay.
They just keep it secret where it is.
Or maybe he did originally think behind the molar, and then the beta version of Data was chewing on some popcorn and accidentally deactivated himself. So by eating one of those kernels. So we got a family reunion going on here. Lore is feeling like he wasn't really invited to the party because Dr. Sung, didn't really expect Lore to be activated, and neither did Data. It was kind of a surprise for everybody. And then, of course, Dr. Sung pulls but wait, I'm dying.
But I mean, have you ever shown up? I unfortunately have shown up to like a family event and have everybody be like, "What are you doing here?"
Oh,
I thought this was a family thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
not you, family.
I think we'd see you.
Yeah, that's a bit awkward. Oh, look at the facial expression of Laura's even changed too. Looks like his eyes and cheekbones have kind of dropped a little. Just like, hey, what's going on? It's some good acting by Brent. I know that I kind of said earlier in the episode, he really enjoys going out of character and into something else.
Oh, yeah.
The funny thing is he likes to play crazy people. So look at his character in Enterprise, Dr. Sung, Data. B4 was kind of a bore, but yeah. Willie Potts has 24 hours, 36 at most. We have to get him to Starve Base 4116.
Wouldn't it have been interesting if that had been the A plot and this Data thing had been the B plot? And instead of Brothers, the episode was called Willie Potts has 24 hours to live.
Ooh, there you go. Or you could do it like the 24 style, where they have the little counter and the of how many hours are left to go in the bottom right hand corner of the screen.
Yeah.
And then you see what's that guy's name, Jack, who is the main character of 24. This goes to show how much 24 I watch. Anyway, to make a long story short, if you had this as your A plot, Mr. Potts getting sick, the entire perspective would be turned around. Data would be considered a criminal who hijacked the ship, and they would not just welcome him back into the family.
But they do that all the time. I mean, later on, Data's going to do stuff that's just as crazy.
Oh, he's okay now. Bring him back in. That thing looks like a gigantic electric pencil in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, here we go. Lore is actually getting to his true sense of anger. He did not appreciate being dismantled, taken apart like a piece of machine. He's basically saying he's sentient, and you invalidated me by just turning me off and taking me apart and throwing me into a cupboard. And next thing I know, you built someone not as good as me because you were afraid of who I am. And he just wants to, give me a chance, man.
And this is where Data learns that he's different but not less than. Which is another one of many lessons that Data should have already learned.
Well, that's what siblings say to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you brought that up earlier in the episode, and that was, it's interesting growing up with a sibling versus growing up as an only child and kind of learning those family dynamics. So Data very much grew up as an only child, and now he has a brother, and now the brothers are being mean to each other, and they don't even know it. And Data isn't really necessarily mean to Lore, but he keeps him at arm's length. He does not let him in. He made that mistake once before.
Yeah.
And
But
go ahead.
the wrap up to this episode is going to be that Data feels like he has to, the next time he sees Lore, greet him as though all this other stuff didn't happen.
Yeah.
What's forgiveness to him is kind of the same as forgetting.
Is that Borg episode that we see?
Yeah.
That's way off.
They didn't have that planned, but it ends with, this whole brothers forgive thing. And yes, through this conversation, it's like you can kind of empathize with Lore to the point that, everybody has been in a situation, everybody who has siblings at least has been in a situation where they're like, maybe I'm not mom and dad's favorite kid. Maybe right at this second they like one of the other kids more.
Well, I kind of look at it.
Sorry that, Jem and Nigel are not here.
I know, right? They had a really good analysis on that an episode ago on Family. Or you could look at it like two dogs. I have two dogs that I love very much, and one is clearly a butthead sometimes, and the other one is a saint. And they change that role over and over and over again. But by no means would I give preferential treatment over one or the other when it comes to telling them how much I love them, or doing something life-saving, or taking you apart and putting you in a closet and forgetting you exist. Well, I guess Laura and Harry Potter do have one thing in common,
Yes.
Living in a cabinet under the stairs.
If your dogs were robotic, though, and you could switch them off without any actual damage, would you do it?
Only on road trips and vacations. Yeah. I think that if I explained to them that function and they were accustomed to being turned on and off, like the Doctor on the holodeck, or not the holodeck, Voyager, he has no problems getting turned on and off. That's just who he is. But the difference is he wants control of that. So would the dogs be upset if I just said, Rusty, off, and then he just ploops over? I don't know if he'd appreciate that or not. So we got way off the part here where we have revealed that there is an emotion chip. And
this is a big deal.
Data's going to get some feels. And there was a really long conversation there between the three of what all of this means and the significance of what Dr. Sung had to do to Lore to understand what went wrong with Data. What went wrong with Lore so he could try to fix it using Data as a test template. My mistake.
What I love about this is that Lore is so driven by ego that, yes, he will disguise himself as Data for a couple of seconds, but he would never, ever want Data to get the credit for anything he did.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Well, Lore serves himself first.
Yeah. It's like Data... If Data were mistaken for Lore, he'd be like, oh, yeah, I get it. We look the same. But Lore would, be like, it's like, oh, you're stupid enough to think that I was Data. But I'm not Data. I'm the superior android.
Now we're back to the B plot. They're walking on the ship trying to figure out exactly what to do. They want to beam on down to the planet. Riker makes a very interesting comment here where we might all beam down looking like Data's. And the idea is like, well, we won't know till we try.
There's a really good podcast called Third Degree Burn, and they were just talking about the Dr. McCoy Frontier Doctor series. And they did a long conversation about how the transporter works. The idea that, people could argue that when you're transported, you're killed, and then a new version of you is built on the other side.
Yeah, and the idea is that are you your memories? Are you your original self? And that how many times can you go to heaven, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. It's the big reveal. Lore sings this beautiful little chestnut.
I want to know what that song is from.
Yeah, I know, right? It sounds like something from almost like Lawrence of Arabia or something.
It's not from Lawrence of Arabia, because I'm pretty familiar with that movie.
But like from that era, like something Mediterranean. Yes.
No, in Lawrence of Arabia, he sings, I'm the man who broke the bank at Monte Carlo.
I gotta rewatch that.
Yeah. If you ever get an opportunity, if movie theaters actually come back, that is incredible on a big screen.
Oh, good. All right. Or I could just get like a 70-inch television, watch it, then return the TV.
Yep, but even a 70-inch television is nowhere near as good as a big
True.
movie screen.
What if I duct tape my cell phone to my face, to my eye holes?
Still wouldn't work for Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay, so Dr. Sun is calling out Data, or calling out Lore. Where's Data? You didn't fill him up with substandard parts, old man. You owe me, not him, me. So I don't get this right here. It doesn't make sense. If Lore likes his father but is dismissive, why did he turn now? What's the motivation?
Because he doesn't want Data to get the credit, is why. He doesn't want his father to think that anything that he did or said was said by Data, because he thinks that everything he does is better. So if Data came across as getting credit for something that Lore did that Lore was proud of, he would be pissed. He would be he would literally be mad forever.
Well, I think he is kind of mad forever. Now he's just crazy.
Yep.
And there he goes. He's truly a good mad robot. And that was, by the way, that was a brilliant stage fall by Brent Spiner there. Over the desk, into the wall, and then smashed the face.
And I love that it was the Packlids that saved him. Because I don't know if you're caught up on Lower Decks at all.
No, not at all. I haven't even started. I am so cheap. I'll turn on my CBS All Access Pass here eventually, someday. Maybe when I cancel my Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah, Matt and I have watched all of the Lower Decks episodes multiple times.
Boy, this guy really likes dinosaurs. There's a little wooden 3D Triceratops there. And
3 years before Jurassic Park, too.
Yeah.
At least before the movie. I don't know about the book.
What's up with all these old books? Like, I'd like to see some glossy magazines in there from, like, Omni magazine from the 90s. Big old pile of those.
Books have got to be rare. I love this, because I have this idea in my head that Data weighs like a literal ton.
Yeah. And he sinks to the bottom of lakes because he can't swim. And then, but Worf is super strong though. He can pick up things when he wants to.
Right.
Maybe it would look weird if Geordi did that. Or how funny would they made if they made Mr. Frakes here pick up Brent Spiner, throw out his back for weeks. So how is it that they know right offhand that that's Data and not Lore, since he's out of his uniform? Well, no, they didn't know that Lore had come back.
That's right.
So I'm going to dial it back.
He says, what he told them the Lore was there. And I love that, like, poor Riker has got to write some kind of a report. And it's like, no, dude, you're subordinate. I mean, number one, if you're going to court-martial him or whatever, he'll give you the information during the court-martial. You don't need to know now. You know, what's the name of the kid? Butch McGillicuddy has 24 hours to live.
I always thought it was really strange that for all the good intensive purposes that Dr. Sun had built a homing tracking program, like a recall program into Data, that he would have a memory wipe, that he'd lose all sense of ethics and put people at life danger. And then also Will comes down and he's shouting at everybody in the scene. Data, what the hell is going on here?
A little boy could die. You remember Chip Wilson, right?
What about Tom Handy? What was he handy at? I don't think I want to know.
He was picking blueberries and ate a ripe one.
So they don't have time to rescue Dr. Sun.
It's a little bit stupid. It's a little bit Pa Kent walking into the Cyclone in Man of Steel.
Yeah, right?
It's like, Superman, save it. No. It's the dog, Ma. The dog.
They do that with tricorders too. They say, oh, tricorder says he's dead. They all walk away. Other times,
Yep.
the tricorder says he's dead. He's like, tricorders are great for living bodies, but not dead ones. And then the person magically comes back. It's almost like the on and off hypospray.
Yeah.
But it's nice.
The problem with tricorders is you can't tell if somebody needs to fart or if they're dead.
Well, one way or another, something's going to be dying in that room.
Yeah.
Well, this is a nice, heart-touching moment.
Yeah.
And the way he cups Data's cheek here is really sweet. It's just this really nice pat on the side. I think he does it. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. Anyway, they don't have time to beam him up, but they have time to have a good minute-long goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't make sense to me. Oh,
No,
we're back. Willie Potsy's responding to treatment.
That's the kid's name, Willie Potts.
He's okay. He's not out of the woods yet. Splendid,
Yeah.
Mr. Picard says.
Yeah.
What a jerk.
Why are those children running? Don't you have a sedative, doctor?
They should be well behaved until they're 20. And then they need to go to the academy, break all the rules, and then they'll become captains. Oh, this is the sad part here. They're brothers, Data. Brothers forgive. And I thought it was really nice that we heard that from Crusher and not from Troy.
Picard had a little bit of an expression there because he just had a reconciliation with his brother.
A lot of family-heavy episodes here. I knew it was a family show after all. Well, here we are. It's the end of the episode. Ooh, I just saw a cool name, Ensign Kopf, Kopf.
Yep, we're dropping this one a little bit later. We missed the 30th anniversary, but that's okay. For the Data stuff, I give it 2.5 emotion chips out of 5.
Ooh, okay.
But because of the Willie Potts stuff was a little bit saccharine, so that gets that takes away the other 2.5.
Yeah, I would have given it a higher ranking had the B plot not been so artificially dire. This literally could have happened in almost any context. You didn't need a kid to almost die in order to pull this off, this story. In fact, I think it would have been even better if the Enterprise was on shore leave, had a skeleton crew, and it was just one or two people who didn't have family to go back to, had to endure being kidnapped by Data to visit his family.
Yeah, and actually they were on shore leave. That's how come the kid got sick.
Right. Oh, there we go. So yeah, I'm gonna give it about 2.5 or 3 emotion chips, but don't be fooled. This is easily one of my top 100 because I am a sucker for origin stories, and anytime we can learn about another family member of anybody from the crew, I'm happy to watch it. Like when we meet Worf's brother who lives on the holodeck with all these weirdos. Not weirdos. He's trying to evacuate a whole bunch of folks. Like, yeah, terrible episode, but I got to meet Worf's brother. That's kind of cool. Alright, well, I think that just wraps it about up. You may have noticed this episode releases out of sequence. We had some technical difficulties, a little bit of trouble under the hood, but feel free to check in on all our other episodes on Next Gen, First Gen. You type that up in Facebook, you can find our page. We have a YouTube page with all our episodes archived, and you can find us on iTunes or anywhere else you can find a podcast. And then also we have a really nice shore leave series on the Two True Freaks Network that basically reviews a lot of our old favorite movies from the 80s and 90s.
And that show I mentioned, Third Degree Burn, is also on Two True Freaks. It's hosted by Tim Elliott and Brian Hughes.
There we go. Very cool. Well, with that being said, I'd like to bid you adieu and have a wonderful day.
Why am I interviewing you guys?
So you're the guest.
So Sascha, what's a Star Trek Next Generation?
I'm the guest.
So Sascha, what is Star Trek Next Generation?
Seek us out
at Next Generation's First Generation at iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Music credits include Electric Car by Poddington Bear, Broke for Free, As Colorful as Ever, The Crutchy Fritos Groove by Sixth Sense, Dill Pickles by Heftone Banjo Orchestra. Audio engineering by Sascha Shouties. Chief Meme Maker and episode cover credit goes to Matthew Kirschner. Logo and graphic art design credit goes to David Clawwitter. And special thanks to Patrick Delmore for working with other podcasts to make sure the good word gets out.
If you'd like to email the show, you can email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. I've been Patrick Delmore.
And this is Sascha Shouties. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Good night.